All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining Chaya, Hinda, and myself for this panel discussion on the topic of navigating pre-Yom Tov and Yom Tov stress with complex personal backgrounds. So I am Rena Reiser. I'm a somatic practitioner. I live in Northern Israel, and I help women with complex trauma. Chaya, Hinda, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Hinda, and I help women overcome their personal childhood challenges in order to be able to raise the next generation and take care of themselves with peace of mind and healing and connection to Hashem, really. Yeah.
That's the ultimate. Okay, so we got a lot of questions, and I want to say, first of all, that as I was reading through the questions, I was thinking about how similar so many of them are. Like there's so many themes that overlap with them. And at the same time, I was also thinking about just how I was feeling sad as I was reading them. That, these are things that I don't think every day we are talking about these things with our friends and our neighbors and people around us. And I'm just glad that we have this space where we can discuss these things and hopefully get some guidance. With Hashem's help, we'll be able to say the right words at, what it is that you're needing to hear as you navigate this time coming up to Pesach. And so we'll go through the questions basically as they came in, and we'll take turns answering questions, and we'll take it from there. So the first questions that came in, they actually, one kind of builds on the other, so we're going to go through them together. I'm worried about living up to expectations as a guest. That was the first one. And the second one is I'm worried about being a guest when I know my host will be stressed out, and that will affect my mood.
So while you're reading that, I just see someone just came into the chat. Am I supposed to be able to hear you? Yes, you should be able to hear. So just check your speaker is working because we're all hearing fine. And if you don't hear, we're started and you should be able to hear. So go ahead and check that it's still working. Okay, can you hear yet? Maybe check your, I don't know, check your settings and different things. You should be able to hear. Sorry for interrupting. Yeah, go ahead, Rena.
I was actually going to ask you to start us off if you're up for it. Do you want me to repeat the questions?
Okay, no, I got that. Okay, so there are two different things, two different parts here. You hear now? Okay, great. Okay, one is about expectations and one is about stressed out host. Okay. And as Rita and I were talking earlier before we got on, there are going to be themes that come up and we're going to address them the first time that theme comes up, and we'll probably build on that as we go along, and we'll see that there are definitely going to be themes about how to respond to these different situations. Expectations is a very big word. And when we have been wired to be attuned to other people's expectations, that stress can often just really take us through the roof because there's no end to what other people's expectations could be of us. And other people can have completely unreasonable expectations of us. And there's no way that we can attune ourselves to everybody's expectations. So when we are up against other people's expectations, what I like to do, and this is what I'm going to suggest, is a process whereby we stop thinking about other people's expectations, at least initially, and we do a complete 180 degree, not a 90 degree turnaround, and we basically start to say, okay, what do I want? And I don't say this to become selfish, but I say it to become authentic. When we come from a place of this is what I want because I'm serving Hashem here. This is what I want because this is what my soul wants as Yontif. I want to be a respectful guest. I want to be attuned to Yontif. I want to have a holy and happy Yontif. And I also want to participate in the Yontif with those people that I'm with. When I can come from a place of what I want, I'm not being driven by others' expectations. And can I fulfill them or can I not fulfill them? And what's going to happen if I don't fulfill other people's expectations? But I come from an authentic, this is what I want. And the rot sign, a person's inner desire, is one of the highest parts of the soul. So when it comes to the psyche, when it comes to the soul, when we're expressing ourselves, we're going to be coming from a healthy place. When we're coming from needing to appease other people's expectations of us, then we come from a very traumatized, trauma bonded kind of a place, which can lead us down a very deep rabbit hole. So that's my initial response to this question is don't think about other people's expectations. You're a holy kosher Jewish woman. You certainly have aspirations for this yontif and for yourself as a guest that are genuine and kind and appropriate. And so when you go with that heart that you have that's in the right place, you want to do the right thing, and you're going to be moving in with an appropriate appreciation for your hosts. You don't have to worry about their expectations. If their expectations are inappropriate, that you're going to be doing way too much or you're going to be doing something else, and they let you know about that, then it's about how do I handle my host's unappropriate or, like over the top expectations of me. And that's about how do I set boundaries, which is a slightly different kind of a question. But basically, don't think about others' expectations of you, because whenever we start with expectations, we are going to start feeling inadequate. I'm inadequate. That's the other side of their expectations of me. But when I go in with, I'm attuned to what my soul wants of me. I want to go in this beautiful yontif. I want to spread joy wherever I go, and I want to do what's in my capacity to do, which is a humble aspiration. It's nothing in the, nothing too grand there. Then you can do that, and you'll be able to do that. So don't attune yourself too much to the expectations of anybody else. Tune yourself into just your reasonable expectations from yourself. And if you find that they're not being met, again, you have an irritable host. Let's go more into question number 2 now. There's an irritable host there. Stay out of that person's way, number 1. Stay out of that person's way as much as you can. Because irritable people are not going to be great for our, for our inner balance. So you can try and stay at the other end of the table, out of the direct conversation with that person. It's really highly advisable to just try and stay out of the direct line of fire. If you need to be, actually, that person's in the kitchen making something and you're already volunteering to make something else near them. Again, you can limit the conversation and the interactions. There's nothing wrong with choosing where you put your energies. And the third part of this, I would say, is realize that if you know already that your host is a little bit irritable, then you know this is not about you. And that's another theme that is going to be echoed throughout probably what we're going to be talking about today. I see Rena nodding. If you know that somebody is irritable, that's on them. They're irritable. It's not about you. It's like a dog is barking next door. Now, is that going to trigger us? Sure it is. If we have had irritable people in our past and they're very triggering for us, it's sure going to be triggering. And so the 2 steps of if we have a triggering person around is, first of all, it's not about me. And this is probably going to be the hardest step for everybody to absorb throughout what we're going to be talking about today. And that is, it's going to take time to de-stress yourself from the trigger of being around a challenging, uptight, tense person. It's going to take time. You're going to need time in your own room, by yourself, with all the different techniques that you have to de-stress. And I'm going to say something else now, because we're going to repeat to this with many other questions as well. And Rena's going to put her hand up if I'm getting too long on this one. But again, I'm just introducing a theme that we're going to go over again. And that is, when we get triggered, this is a physiological stress response. Our body goes into a release of all the stress hormones. Okay, we have epinephrine, we have adrenaline. We become vigilant. Our body is releasing these hormones. It becomes a scientific approach of what works to release, what works to de-adrenalize myself. I'm going to give you a short list of things that scientifically reduce the adrenaline in the system. Number 1 is exercise. Go for a walk by yourself. Okay, it really works. Taking a half-hour walk, if you do that every single day during your stay as a guest, or even if you're hosting, these are going to be tools that you can use throughout the questions whenever we get triggered. Go for a walk, because walking, first of all, gets you out of the situation, and it does a huge amount to somehow it just breaks down the adrenaline in the system. Something else that helps is pets. Watching animals actually can do the same thing as holding a pet, or even a small child can actually release oxytocin in the body. Pets and animal and small children, babies, really cute ones, can release oxytocin in the body, which can even out the effect of the adrenaline. So taking a walk, thinking about pets, looking at even silly videos of pets, or holding small children, doing something like that that can actually release the positive hormones, oxytocin in the body, and reduce the amount of adrenaline in the body, scientifically can just make an enormous difference once your system is already triggered. So it's about, again, part one is it's not about you, and part two is it takes time, and you have to take the time to actually help your body de-stress from the exposure to somebody who's triggering. And there's no way out of it apart from creating the time for yourself. So that's my beginning of the answer. Rena?
I'm thinking, what can I add to this? So I'll add there are two things that I want to add to what you're saying. Number one is I wanted to, well, okay, I'll leave my number one for last, but just to when to realize that when our body is pumping all these stress hormones into our bodies, right? When our brains get a message that there's something, some sort of danger here, and our body starts pumping out these stress hormones, the way that we perceive the world is going to be a way of danger, meaning there was some sort of perceived threat that was below a cognitive level, right? It was just our nervous systems neurocepted some sort of danger. And as a result, started flooding our bodies with all these hormones, these stress hormones. And then as a result of that, that is how we see the world. So in that place, that's when we see our host as somebody who's more threatening. We see our host as somebody who's scarier. We see our host as someone who's more irritable. Whether they are or are not objectively doesn't matter in that moment because that's how our systems perceive them. And so doing all of the things that Hinda mentioned to downregulate our nervous systems, going for a walk, co-regulating with an animal or person, baby, that will help downregulate our nervous systems so that we can actually then figure out how we want to respond in this situation. We'll be able to bring our prefrontal cortexes back on board because it's no longer going to be our stress response that's dictating how we're responding, but we'll actually be able to make a choice in that moment. The other thing I wanted to answer with these questions was the worry that you mentioned. Started off the questions. I'm worried about. I'm worried. And to me, I would start there. Personally, I would start there. I'm worried. And to be able to bring attention to yourself about the worry. And those of you who know my work, right? It's all about bringing it into the body. When I say that I'm worried about something, where do I sense that inside my body? It sounds almost like, what's the point? Like, I've done this like 100 times, or I've never done it and I don't see the point in it, everything in between. But when we can invite our bodies to give a sense of that worry and we can sit with it for a few moments, which can be the scariest thing, can be even scarier than the worry that we feel about the situation that we're about to be faced with. But when we can sit with that worry in our bodies, notice where it is inside of us, that in of itself allows our bodies to start to process some of the nervous energy that's within us, that survival stress. And as we process it, and then we're able to then decide again, what do we actually want to do in this situation? What would actually be helpful? But first validating and saying the fact that you're worried is legitimate. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing bad. There's nothing off about being worried about something. It's not like it doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to be rational. But your system, for whatever reason, is worried right now. Your system is worried right now. Whether it makes sense, doesn't make sense, this is what your system is doing right now. Like, just like, if we had a toddler in the room who was worried about something, they don't have the cognitive capabilities to be able to discern whether something's actually, worth the while to be worried about or not. They have emotions, they have reactions, they have responses. And when we allow that toddler the space to be able to deal and feel with whatever it is that they're feeling inside, that allows them to kind of move on after a couple minutes. Like they feel the worry and then they're back to playing. And so these younger parts of us that are responding in these situations from a place of fear, worried about what's going to be, if we can give space to those younger parts of us, it will allow our adult selves to then come into the picture when we've given space for those younger places first.
Great, beautiful. I like that, Rena. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I appreciate all those things that you just said. Great.
Okay, so let's go on to this next one, and then I invite you to start us off with this one as well.
Okay.
Question is, I have five very intense, some ADHD, small children, not in a good financial situation, no cleaning help, struggling in my marriage. My husband is very machmir/OCD regarding halacha. He told me that the Rav said that b'dikas chametz can only be done at night, which is true. This obviously is not only talking about b'dikas chametz at night. He was only willing to help me with Pesach prep at night, even though there's plenty to do during the day, and then he can do b'dika at night. Last night he got upset. I wasn't working with him. I tried to explain to him that I have my strength in the morning, and by 8 o'clock at night, I'm totally exhausted after being with my kids all day. Any ideas? Thank you.
Yeah. So first of all, a massive virtual hug to you with five very intense small children with very little access to resources and struggling in your marriage. You are a hero. Okay, just that life situation by itself is already a daily and nightly struggle. Um, and clearly, Erev Pesach becomes just another one of these, another one of the battlefields where stuff really becomes intense. So I'm not going to respond about your husband, what he's doing or not doing, because he's his own business, okay, what he will or won't do. But I am going to really focus all of my focus on you, and I want you to start to focus a whole lot more of your focus on you, okay? Your husband is clearly not seeing things accurately. You are seeing things accurately. Don't waste time trying to explain to him why you need to do what you need to do. What we need to start learning to do is decide what you can and can't do based on yourself. You need to tune into yourself and ask, okay, what can I do? And what's the most important thing for me to do? It's not about what's going to make him happy or not happy or fit in with his schedule, but it's about what can I do and what's the most important thing for me to do. Okay? Because you only have a certain amount of strength. And managing the five children is already probably putting you, somehow just maybe, hopefully, you're keeping your head above water some of the time, I hope, a lot of the time. But that's really where you have to stay. You have to stay with your head above water. And of course, if you have strength in the morning and you have a little package of time, you do what's the most important thing to you. And I'm going to give you a little tool of what you do next, okay? Is you learn to express your truth about any answer you have to give to your husband in a very short, pleasant, and kind way. And then you just repeat that endlessly as many times as you need to. So when it comes to the evening and he's upset, you said you tried explaining to him. So again, we're not doing any more explaining. You simply say, "That's right. I have strength in the morning, and that's when I can do it. It's hard for you. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I have strength in the morning. Right. I know it's really hard, but I have my strength in the morning, and that's what I could do." Basically, you just keep smiling and expressing the same truth over and over again. Okay, that's what you do. You don't have to explain yourself. This is basically called the deep technique, which I'm going to describe now. Okay, and again, this is another tool that will apply to probably many different questions here. The deep technique goes to DEEP. I'm going to put it into the chat here. Okay, I'm just going to send it to everybody because it's worthwhile having this. DEEP, the deep technique. Deep stands for don't defend, don't explain, don't engage, and don't take it personally. Okay, these are all things not to do. Not to do. When we're interacting with somebody, it could be a parent, it could be a spouse, it could be a sibling, it could be a child. When we're interacting with somebody who is a bit antagonistic, is expecting more of us, and it is not tuning into us, basically, is not attuned to us, is not really taking the reality of where we are into account, we need to take our reality into account big time. Seriously, you need to tune to yourself and say, okay, this is what I can do. I'm in this kind of situation where you're literally holding up the entire household over here. You're the anchor, you're the captain of this boat, and you're steering it towards the safe port of Pesach, and you're holding this together, and your children know that. They know that intuitively, that you're holding it all together. So you need to be the 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 closest to the calm, upbeat version of yourself that you can possibly be. So you decide, you get to decide for yourself where you prioritize your energy, where you prioritize your attention, and you don't have to defend your choices. You don't have to explain your choices. You don't engage in conversations about it, and you don't take personally his being upset. Okay? He is upset after making many choices that didn't take you into consideration. And that's his business. We're not going to go into why he making his choices, because we're not going to attempt to change him, right? We're just managing you and your choices. And it saps your strength having to defend yourself, explain yourself, engage in all these conversations, trying to explain some more. And then at the end of the day, you're like, well, doesn't he hear me? Like, and you take it, and we take it personally. It's not about you. It's about how he sees things. He sees things from his very, small kind of vision. He doesn't really see you and what you're going through and how much help you need. So you need to see you. Don't defend, don't explain, don't engage with him, but repeat kindly, again, kindly and respectfully, but just become a broken record. Yeah, that's what I could do. I had the strength in the morning. I'm so sorry. I'll be able to help tomorrow morning again. Oh, you can't do it in the morning. I get that, but I'll be doing it in the morning. You just keep on doing, you just keep saying it again like that. And hopefully that will help. It will create a shield that will deflect the attacks to some degree, I hope. And then behind the shield, you can go on with your life, taking care of yourself and your children, and making the choices that you need to make for yourself. That's my part of the answer. Rena?
Ah, beautiful answer. Beautiful, beautiful answer. I don't really have much to add. Maybe I can just add on to what you're saying. Um, I want to share two personal stories that I think can help illustrate the difficulty in doing what you're saying, what you're suggesting, but also the power of it, and also the power of it. So, a number of years ago, I asked somebody something. I asked somebody to do something for me, and she responded, "No, that won't work for me." And I remember feeling so insulted, feeling like, how could she respond like so to the point like that? Like I asked her to do this thing for me. Shouldn't she at least like give me an explanation? At least like, express herself, like give me more details. And no, that's all she said. Okay, so that's exhibit A. Exhibit B was when I was really working on my communication and I was taking a course on communication. And I remember I got stuck on a similar thing where there was a situation that I wanted to say no about. And I was trying to figure out how I could say no in the most compassionate way possible. And I was trying to come up with this whole long spiel explaining myself in the nicest way possible of how I'm justified in saying no, how my no is valid, and et cetera, et cetera. And one of the teacher's assistants said, "Why can't you just say no?" And I thought, what? What do you mean I can just say no? I've been programmed my whole life that first of all, there's no such thing as saying no. I have to say yes. I have to give in to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that why I'm here? I'm here just to serve, everyone and everything. And second of all, just to say no, I mean, that's like so hurtful for the other person. But it was such a wake-up call for me
Hmm.
in that moment to realize sometimes the answer is just no. That's it. I don't have to explain things. I don't have to, I can be clear, I can be compassionate. It's all about the energy and the way that I'm saying it more than, more than the actual words that are coming out. And to be able to learn to say respectfully, it won't work for me. Sorry.
Right.
But nicely, meaning we're not saying it aggressively. We're
Right.
not saying it with a chip on our shoulders, but respectfully saying it won't work for me. I'm worthy of being able to say no to somebody. It's legitimate. It is totally legitimate to be able to say no. My needs matter. My needs are important. And I don't have to go into details whether they'll understand me, don't understand me, but to be able to own that no. And it takes work. It takes work to be able to say it. But the guidelines that Chaya Hinda gave, I think, are really powerful, and practice them and come in with the understanding that your needs are legitimate. Your no is legitimate. You don't have to say yes just because you're in front of this other person.
Right. Absolutely. Great.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. um, okay. I see I lumped them together by accident. They're two separate ones, the next two. Okay,
Okay.
how to make the Seder meaningful, enjoyable, and less overwhelming when there are no children and no men. So I'll start this one off, Hinda. How to make the Seder meaningful, enjoyable, and less overwhelming when there are no children and no men. I want to say the first thing that stands out to me, and I don't know who wrote this question, right? All these were sent in anonymously, and I don't have more details, but the first thing that really stands out to me is a sense of loneliness that I'm hearing here. And I don't know if there are other women around, or if you're on your own here, but I'm hearing a lot of loneliness and a lot of maybe sadness even. Like, how do I make this meaningful, enjoyable, and less overwhelming? And there's no children, there's no men around, and the Seder is all about family time. The Seder is all about coming together and having a man lead it, and having the children asking all their questions until they're high on sugar and who knows what from all the treats they get. And that's missing for you. And at first I want to validate just how, like, I hear the pain, I hear your pain, and I hear how sad that you must, it sounds like you're feeling with this. And like we said, there's going to be, similar um patterns in our responses, and I think here too, to be able to say that, like, yeah, it would be so amazing if this Seder could have more men here, more children here, men, any children here, in order to make it meaningful, enjoyable, less overwhelming. And really start there. Start with your humanity. Start with the fact that is the picture that we have of what a Seder is, for good reasons. Right? Under normal, regular circumstances, that is the ideal Seder. And that's something that you're missing out on. And it's hard. It's hard to be it's hard to be in a less than ideal situation. And I wish I could snap my fingers and make it ideal for you in an instant, but unfortunately that's not the reality. The reality is that it is a difficult situation that you're in. And to be able to recognize that and give yourself that space, give yourself that compassion that this is this is less than ideal. Right? This is really less than ideal. And makes it complicated and makes it less meaningful, less enjoyable, more overwhelming. And once you've given space for that, and really giving space for it, taking the time to really give it space, giving yourself a good cry, giving yourself time to process this, giving yourself the space that you deserve to really fully feel everything that you're feeling as it relates to it. Because it's once you give yourself the space to really feel everything that you're feeling as it relates to it, then you'll be able to start getting creative of ways to make it more meaningful and more interesting, more enjoyable for yourself. once you can get through that muck on some level, meaning it's going to be there, right? It's like your situation's not changing all of a sudden. All of a sudden, there's going to be a man at the table and children at the table. But when you've given space for what you're experiencing inside, you'll be able to then take steps to be able to make it a little bit more ideal for yourself. Right, Hinda?
Yeah, thank you for that, Rena. You're exceptional in your capacity to hold space for whatever is right now in a really deep, contained way. And I love being around your energy to do this. I hope everyone's feeling that because I really love feeling that around you, Rena. So I want to share two stories that that will relate to this. I guess that's the second stage as we get to share the stories. In the first stage, we get to respond. Um, Many years, all of the men folk of my family were not at home for Rosh Hashanah for all kinds of different reasons. Many where they went to Rebbe. I have one daughter whose husband was in Uman, so there were and another a friend would often come with her children who didn't have whose husband was also by his Rebbe. There were many Rosh Hashanahs where it was really just women. There were children, but there was really just women running the whole Yontif thing. It's definitely a different pace. Um, but what I want to take away from that story for you is enjoy the different pace of it. It's a different pace. It's not less good. It really is just a different pace. There's definitely a certain energy when there's a man at the table. And when we say man at the table, we generally mean a person who is a fixture at the table, doesn't get up and go and do the serving in the middle, right? That's what the women are generally doing. So what happens is that the yontif um, shifts from the table to the kitchen and then back to the table. So the focus is not only in one place, it's a slight different flow, but there's no less yontif energy in that situation. Um, and so when you shift to that pace of, okay, this is where it's at, this is what it is. I don't have to be attuned to somebody else who's running it. This is where it is. It's again, it's coming through me. This is my soul. This is my attachment to Kadosh Baruch Hu. This is at the pace that I'm doing this. And if I decide to sing a song to myself while I'm in the kitchen serving the fish, that's where the focus of the Seder is right now. It's where I am. It's not that I come in and out of it because the action is happening at the table. But the action is with me. It's happening inside me. And maybe tuning into that is going to be part of it. Another story that I want to share, and again, this is going to relate to a few of the questions that we have here, but Rav Elia Roth, who was he left Europe as a young man after the Shoah, and he was instructive in building Klal Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael after the Shoah. He was a mishamish. He was a gabbai, so a very close confidant and gabbai of the Zvila Rebbe's of I think three consecutive Zvila Rebbe's. And he was a tzaddik and a Talmid Chacham in his own right. His wife, unfortunately, was deeply disturbed. And one Pesach, and they didn't have children. One Pesach, one of his Talmidim came into his home. It was Seder night, and his wife, in a deranged fit, had pulled off the tablecloth that Reb Elia had set for the Seder, pulled it off, and it smashed onto the floor. And there were only the three of them. There was Reb Elia, there was his wife, who was not really with it, and there was this Talmud. And Reb Elia looked at his Talmud and he said, you know, you think about Pesach and you think about children and family and shining silver and the beautifully set table. And he says, you might look around here, and what do you see? You see the picture of loneliness and the picture of absolute the opposite of everything that you might associate with what Pesach is supposed to be. And he said, no, exactly here is avodas Hashem. Exactly here is connection to Hashem. Exactly where I am is the Simchas Chag. I hope that none of us will find ourselves in the situation that Rav Elia found himself in. But the loneliness that he could have shifted into was what he chose to turn into connection to Hashem. the Yesod V'Shoresh Havoda says, if we find ourselves surrounded by family, then we can thank Hashem for the intensity of our involvement with other people. And if we find ourselves with no one, then we can thank Hashem that cleared He's cleared the path, so we can experience the connection with Him without those other people around. There are going to be a pleasure and pain both in having people around and in the loneliness. There's both in every situation, and of course there's going to be some pain. We can't have anything without pain. Like existence is with pain, and through that pain we can connect to Hashem, not nullifying or mitigating the pain in any way, but it can hopefully, Be'ez Hashem, create meaning in that space where you find yourself. I hope that
No,
helps.
beautiful. Really beautiful. One thing that came up for me as you were sharing the story of Revelia was his honesty with his Talmud of what was happening, right? The transparency of the reality, like that, like no hiding and pretending that it's any different than it is. Like this
Right,
is the reality. Like he just said it straight out. There was no pretending that things were different.
right.
And
That's
it's
right.
and I feel like that's such an important Nakuda there,
Mm-hmm.
such an important point that it's when we can be honest with ourselves about what our reality is that yeah, this is not ideal for whatever reasons. Then we're able to find Hashem in the picture and find the
Yeah,
what does work within it.
absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you. It's a very powerful story. Okay, next question. A lot of my trauma centers around not having enough to eat. How do I deal with the kids saying there's no food? I want to just tell them, don't say that. You have no idea. How do I get back to cooking after that trigger constantly? Gonna start us off?
Yeah, great. Okay, so a lot of my personal trauma is around being in front of a computer, believe it or not, which I have to do a lot of. Basically, I sit in front of a computer and I think, I don't know how to do this. I'm going to mess up. Something's going to go wrong. There was like my own personal voices. And at one particular time, I was trying to do something. I was in my own personal password Gehinnom, which is where you have to go. You need a password to go into a place where you need a password. And then to get to that password, you can't get in. And I was really losing it. And my daughter came in and she said to me something, and I don't even remember what it was, but I'm like, I can't answer you right now. I'm so sorry. I'm so stressed. And then I said to her, it is not you. This is me. I'm so sorry, but I just can't manage it right now. Okay. I had this situation because another one of my trauma centers around being in the car with unsafe people. And my son, who is a safe person, was driving me somewhere the other day. And as he was driving, I'm doing this like all of this stuff. And he's like, Mommy, what's, I said, it's okay. It's not you. It's me. This is not you. This is me. Okay. So in both those situations where I get to own my trauma, I get to own my history, and I say to my kids, it's not you, but this is me. Okay. So basically, your mother is traumatized. Like this is just what you have to deal with. This is me, but it's not you. So when your children are saying there's no food, okay, basically what you can let them in on is I have trauma around food. You can let them know this. It's okay to say I have an issue. Like it's really hard for me when you say that. It's not you. It's not your fault, but it's really hard for me. So when that issue comes up, I know you're hungry, but I'm having an issue. Like I have an issue when this comes up. Again, like what we just said before about being honest, as Rena mentioned, when we can be honest about our issues, it's me, it's not you, but I am triggered. I've got lots of issues. I've got lots of issues. There are many songs that my children cannot play because I will just burst out and cry into tears. And it's just not worth it for me to spend the next hour instead of making Shabbos crying. So please just don't play that music. So they know, and they just have to navigate mommy because mommy is also a factor here. So you're in the kitchen, you're making food, your teenagers need stuff. There's what we know about food, and whenever we talk about food, I just want to put this out there that the first two Averas in history were women and food. Okay, women ate from the tree, and then we gave somebody else to eat. So you, me, and our best friend, we're not going to solve the issues about women and food in this generation. It's going to go till the end of time. So if you own having an issue around food, and you say to your children, "This is not about you," but I'm so sorry, but I'm just massively triggered by this. Your children get a chance to see you as a person. They get a chance to then actually be a little bit more compassionate towards you. Maybe you can together come up with a way that they can tell you something without it triggering you. You can work on that together. That's a conversation you can have with them when you're calm. You could approach them. You could say, "No, I know that Pesach is a time where people feel hungry. I know that that's an issue, right? In every household, what's there to eat at Pesach? It's definitely something that comes up. So if it you can preempt this and sit down with them and say, I don't want to get overly triggered with you guys. I really want to make sure that we have food for you. It's my issue. I don't want to, but how can we do this together? We're a team. All right, kids, teenagers. I think, is it teen? Okay, it's not only teens, I said in the question, it's not necessarily teens, but even if it's a 9-year-old, you can say, whoa, it's hard for mommy when you ask that, and it's not about you, it's just about mommy. How can we maybe say this in a way that, if you can maybe feed them something to say, give them a line that won't trigger you. Think about how to do it. And that's what I have to say. Hand over to Rena.
Yeah, so good. So good. What you're saying about sharing. I think there's a lot of fear around being able, like sharing of ourselves with our children.
Yeah.
Like if I share, they might see me as less than, they might see me as less than human or less than capable. And by the time they're teenagers anyway, they know that we're not. But but to be able to show them that we all have struggles, I think is so powerful. And really to be able to express that clearly.
Want to make one more thing. If there's
Yeah.
somebody around who is going to pathologize you for saying that, I mean, if there's an unfriendly element who is going to start saying, "Oh, you're so triggered, and you're such a trauma victim, and you're so this and that." If you know that there's somebody in the environment who's going to do that, then don't do it in front of them. It's a private conversation to have just with the children who can hear you, rather than in front of anybody who's going to start doing any of that stuff. Okay, just want to add that.
Beautiful. Ah, I think the only thing I would add here is reflecting it back into yourself. Like taking the whole conversation that Chaya Hinda suggested and having with your kids and have that same conversation with yourself around it. Validating for yourself what it was like, right? Because when your kids are saying things about there not being enough food, right? That's triggering it's triggering something that maybe you wanted to say when you were a child that you couldn't say if your trauma revolves around food. When they're saying that, the reason why when people say things that trigger us, the reason why it triggers us so much, it's because oftentimes it's the very thing that we wanted to say that we couldn't say. We didn't have a voice to be able to say. And so when your own flesh and blood then go ahead and say the very phrase that you couldn't say for whatever reason, or you said but wasn't given validity, then that's why it triggers us so much and like brings you all the way back to way back when there was no food. And so if you can validate to yourself of, yeah, wow, those were scary times. Nobody validated me when I said I was hungry because there wasn't food. And that was really overwhelming and really scary for me when I was X years old. And to be able to take time to be with that and mourn that and give that, excuse me, that young child who's still alive within you, to give her what she never got is so healing and so much part of the process that Mirta Hashem, the day will come when your kids will be able to say that to you because kids are kids. And even if you give them all the tools in the world, they'll still say things that, we don't necessarily want them to be saying. They're humans. I mean, we all do it to each other, not just kids. But Mirta Hashem, the day will come when you've given it to yourself enough, you've given yourself enough validation around this and had enough healing around this, that when your kids say there's no food, the day will come when you'll be able to take it in stride. And it's possible to get there. Doesn't mean it's an easy path, but it's possible to get there.
I don't think you can stress
Okay.
that enough, Rena. What you just added, I don't think we can stress enough how much we need to create that voice within ourselves that validates what we're going through. I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk more about that with more questions, but just want to bolster that as you're saying it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next question. My husband is generally angry, critical, impatient, and when he is in a quote unquote good mood, will constantly reaffirm what a failure I am at everything and to everyone. These constant messages color my interactions with others and myself. How do I hear others' complaints without hearing my husband's voice as well? Meaning that when I'm taking it in, that because your husband is so critical, so then even when other people are critical, you hear them with the intensity, I guess, of how your husband says them. Okay, Hinda, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So when we live with someone who is angry, critical, impatient, and even in his good mood, in his better times, he's just going to say what a failure you are to you and to everybody else. What you've done is you've internalized that voice. Obviously, it's become one of your inner voices has become his critical, impatient, angry voice. And so it's a process of making his voice irrelevant. Now, what I'm going to say is easy to say, complex, and it takes time. It's a process to actually put it to practice, but it is possible. Everybody can do this, and anybody who tries can do this. And when you do this, your life will be different. You need to replace the internalized voice of the critical, angry, impatient, um, saying that you're a failure voice. Replace it with a consistent inner, what I call the mother voice, a mother voice inside yourself, your own mother voice. Okay. A mother voice is going to be, not everybody got it from their mother, but it's a voice that we hope that we would love a mother to be saying to us. The job of a mother is to mirror to her children and mirror to you then as the child the good that is you, the uniqueness that is you, how special you are, how lovable you are just because you're you. Okay. And you're not lovable because you do something. How lovable you are just because you're you. You're just cute. You're just adorable. You're lovely. You're lovable. And you have these qualities which add to how lovable you are. The internalized mother voice is going to be a consistent source of encouragement and love. It will be a voice that you can draw strength from always. You can create for yourself a composite mother voice from people that you know, people that you have known in the past. Many people I know who have had challenging parents. Often the saving grace of their childhoods was a loving bubby. Maybe they had a grandmother who loved them unconditionally, and they maybe have fond memories of being with a grandmother who said some nice things to them or treated them well. If you don't have anybody in your childhood, maybe you had a teacher, maybe you have friends now who or guides or people who are in some way loving and supportive in your life now that you can create a composite mother voice within yourself. Initially, you may want to actually write down the words that kind people have said to you in the past and the people around you say to you today, and start repeating it to yourself and start even writing it. When we actually write with our hands, I don't mean to type, but when you actually write things, science has proven, this is research based, that when you write things, it actually enters into the grooves in the brain much more deeply than if we just read something or type something. So if we actually write out the words that we would like to incorporate into our own internal mother voice, this can become, it can shorten the process. It can really help us to do this. When we spend time, we need to spend time with people in real time, people who love us just because, not because we did something for them, but where there's a mutually loving relationship. You have to seek out those people. You have to spend time with those people. And here's a place where I want to say that um, we tend to get out of balance in where we put our focus in our life, and we give the cream to the cat rather than using the cream for where it really needs to go. What do I mean by this? Is that often the antagonistic, um, manipulative, stressful, strained relationships. Often we pour more and more energy into them, and we become more and more deeply attuned to those relationships, trying to make them better because because we're peace-seeking people and we want to create peace. And we're like, well, most of these other relationships, I don't have to put energy into those relationships because they're okay. But this relationship is so bad, I have to pour more energy into it to try and create a good relationship. What we don't realize is that often the other party in this relationship is not a partner in the relationship, and the instability in that relationship and the strain doesn't bother them. Otherwise, they'll be putting more effort into creating more relational peace from their point. If we keep on pouring good money after bad into that kind of relationship, we're draining ourselves, and we are impacted. We're amplifying the inner voice, the reaffirming of the failure voice, rather than amplifying and creating within ourselves the compassionate internal mother voice. And that's what we need to do for ourselves. We need to make a massive switch, and we need to realize it's not good for me to be around this angry, critical, impatient person who, when he's in a good mood, is just going to be saying what a failure I am. Doesn't mean you have to leave the relationship. Notice. Doesn't mean we need to shift. In so many situations, we can't leave the relationship for all kinds of good reasons, and we don't have to leave the relationship, but we can vote with our feet about where we spend our time and our energy. Okay? And you need to not only just be able to hear others' complaints. I mean, I see the question, how do I hear others' complaints without hearing my husband's voice as well? You don't only have to have complaints in your life, my dear love. That's not what your life is about. It's not only about hearing the complaints from everybody in your life. It's about setting up your life in such a way that you have so many people in your life who aren't complaining, but are actually loving you and supporting you and seeing the good in you, that the people who are critical, impatient, and angry, their voice becomes irrelevant. And mark that word down in capitals. They are irrelevant. Why are they irrelevant? Because anybody who is truly rooting for your good and wants you to improve and come close to Hashem and be your best version of yourself, they will not be bombarding you with a constant diet of critical, impatient, notices of your failure. That's not what they're going to be doing. Anybody who actually genuinely wants you to improve will give you just a little bit, just a drop of positive encouragement with a little bit of, if you did this a little bit differently, it would be a little bit better. Just what you could absorb. And so by the very fact of how they're giving it over, it shows that they're not genuinely interested in your growth, but more interested in putting you down. And so we need you to be with people who don't put you down. We need you to create for yourself an internal mother voice that is giving you a constant stream of loving, caring, confidence building messages such as, you did a great job. We know that there's, we know it was a big, big job, and you've done at least 80% was great. Keep going. All of these kinds of positive statements, that's what you need to build. Okay. And then if there are other complaints that come in, you'll have the strength to manage them. Okay. Rena.
I love building that like inner mother voice. Beautiful. Hmm. Maybe what I'm going to suggest is building your inner father voice for yourself. Hmm. Maybe let's call it that.
Hmm.
And again, whether you say this out loud or not, I think it's important to be able to say to yourself, acknowledge to yourself how you feel when you're spoken to that way. So if you would say it out loud, which I'm not necessarily suggesting that you do, depends on many, many factors, but if you would say it out loud or to yourself, it would sound something like this. When you call me X name, let's say he's calling you a name, or when you tell me that I don't do X well enough, I feel really hurt. Period. Okay, first take that in, acknowledge that to yourself. Standing up for yourself. You have feelings. When somebody talks to you a certain way and you don't like it because it hurts you, that makes it not an acceptable way for somebody to talk to you. And to be able to own that and to be able to say to yourself, right, from this is again, this is like that fatherly protection of I am worthy of being spoken to respectfully. I am worthy of being treated like a Tzelem Elokim. My feelings get hurt when I'm spoken to that way. And that's legitimate that I feel that way when somebody talks to me that way. And so again, first acknowledge this to yourself. First give yourself that protection, that recognition that it's not okay for someone to be talking to me this way. And then depending on the circumstances and the dynamics, and when it comes to interpersonal relationships, I do not like just saying, oh, just say this and life's going to be perfect. We all know that's not true. But in the right time, in the right place, to be able to practice actually saying that out loud, maybe about the smaller things first, and then eventually some of the bigger things, and to be able to look him in the eye and say, when you say XYZ to me, and specifically, not hyperbolizing it or generalizing it, but saying back exactly what he says to you. When you say XYZ to me, when you say that you don't, when the way that I put away the dishes is wrong, whatever it is, when you say XYZ to me, I feel hurt. And then how do I want to feel? I want to be loved and respected. I want to feel loved and respected by you. So instead, could you say it to me as ABC? Hey, I would so love if you would put away the dishes in this way. Right? We're in a relationship here. We want to feel close to each other. But it first starts by being able to give yourself that internal dialogue, internalizing it within yourself, giving yourself that fatherly protection. And then after you're with that for a while, then see how you can maybe play with it within your relationship. Okay. Next question. There's so many more, and we're running out of time. We're like an hour in. Okay, they're all so important. All right, so I'm just gonna go down. It's so hard for me to be a guest for so long, 3 days and then 2 days, when I'm a homebody and need my space, and I am introverted and find it hard to socialize so much. You all know where I'm going to start with this one, right? I'm going to be a broken record with this one. Can you validate to yourself how hard it is for you as a homebody, as someone who needs her space, as someone who's introverted, someone who finds it hard to socialize? Can you first validate for yourself before you try to problem solve this? Before you try to find ways to, find your own space and make things as homey for you as possible? Can you first validate for yourself? Give space and legitimacy for the fact that it's hard for you. We so often skip over this step, which is why I keep repeating it. We're so quick to jump to solutions and jump to try to figure this out. But can we first give legitimacy for the fact that you are a human and you have needs? I'm looking I was looking yesterday for a source. I've been looking for it for 9 years. And I thought it was attributed to one person, and turns out it wasn't. So I have no idea where I got this idea from, but I think it's an important idea to share. If we think about the levels of creations, right? The bottom level being a domim, an inanimate object. A level up being a tzomach, a plant. A level up being a chai, animal. A level up from that being a medaber, a human being. As we go up in levels, the needs of the group increase. Right? An inanimate object, a rock, has very few needs in this world. Maybe like some level of oxygen. I don't know. Right? A plant, what does it need? It needs sunlight, needs water, needs soil, needs fertile ground. An animal has even more complex needs than a plant, has needs for co-regulation, to be with others, has needs for all different types of food, etc. And a human being, we have even more needs than an animal. Our needs are so much more complex than an animal. If we can recognize that we are created b'tselem Elokim, we're created in Hashem's image, And this is what Hashem created us as. We're created to have all of these needs. And so the fact that you are a homebody, the fact that you are somebody who needs her space, that you're introverted, that you find it hard to socialize so much, it's legitimate. It's legitimate. The fact that you're going away for 3 days and then 2 days because of the way that Yonsef works out this year, and it's going to be hard for you, it's legitimate that it's going to be, it's hard. And there's legitimacy in the fact that it's hard for you. Hashem created you with certain skills, certain talents that needs your introvertedness in order to do whatever it is that you're meant to be doing in this world. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the most beautiful thing ever that you have this introvertedness, you have this homebodiness about you. And if you can start to see it as something that is so beautiful, that yes, this is valid, this is legitimate, there's purpose for this, there's a reason for this. Hashem created me this way on purpose. It's valid that it's hard for me to be put in a situation where I need to go to the opposite extreme of who I am in my nature. And really giving legitimacy to who you are, that's when it'll start to become easier to find the ways to actually navigate this situation. Chaya, Hinda.
Yeah, really is not, there's not that's it's so beautiful to say that. And I love that you're so attuned to yourself that I'm an introvert and I need my space. So you know what your needs are. You know what the needs are. Um, what I'm guessing is hard is then letting yourself show up for your needs. You know what your needs are, but you're finding it hard to say or to take the steps to do that, because truly you can go to your room, you can go out for a walk. It's about how to present that to other people. Maybe you're scared about how they're going to relate to you, and so really it's about prioritizing your needs over what people are going to say, and being able to say, this is what I need. If you need to opt out of one meal and just be in your room for that meal, if you need to walk every day. I stayed when I go to anywhere, when I go to any of my children, I go out for walks every single day, and I have time by myself. And I won't say I don't feel guilty walking out on everybody. I do feel guilty walking out on my grandchildren, but I do it anyway because I know I need it. So you can feel guilty and you can do it anyway. You can say, I need my space. I know I'm going to feel better. This is for myself and everybody. I need to do this. Get up, walk out, go and take a 2-hour walk. And hopefully you'll feel a lot better when you come back. That's what I would say.
Hey, thank you. Next question. Excuse me. How to keep everyone's menuchas nefesh intact when two teenage/young adult siblings that don't get along from complex background issues are spending Yom Tov together, especially during the Seder and Sudos, navigating the fallout of their silent wars on everyone else. Thank you. I'll start us off.
Okay. Number one, everybody else's menuchas and nefesh is not your business. We, especially as mothers, we tend to, again, that doesn't say that they are necessarily yours. I don't know whether they're your children or whether they're your siblings. I don't know. But whatever it is, often the most sensitive person in the room tends to feel that everybody else's feelings are your business. And as sensitive people, if we don't want to run on empty all the time because we're giving our energy away to everybody else, we really need to learn how to take it back and say, everybody else's menuchas and nefesh is their business. But there's one really great thing you can do, and that is you can set an example. You can be menuchas and nefesh for yourself. When you focus on your own menuchas and nefesh, no matter what's going on, you really have, the way that Rena describes it, this settled, deep intuition where you're tuned to yourself and you're in your peace and you're connected to the Seder, and you're also resonating, and giving out a beautiful smile and a peace and a menucha that you're giving out. You're creating an example which is going to give everybody else the greatest chance of latching onto it. but it's a very different dynamic than making their menuchas and nefesh your business. So that's how I would say I would manage that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hmm. I'm thinking what I have to add. Well, I think maybe one thing that's hopping out at me, thank you, Hashem, is the fact that they chose to spend Yom Tov together. They chose. They know that they're in this war with each other, and they chose it. They chose to spend Yom Tov together, knowing whatever is going on, which says something. Either says that they recognize that they're at war with each other and they're just willing to, be at like a stalemate with each other. You said it's a silent war, so there's friction between them, but it's not necessarily showing externally in terms of yelling and fighting and all kinds of things. So it's just this like underlying kind of vibe that's there that everyone knows that these two um are at war with each other, but they're keeping it quiet. Um and so I think that, once the decision has been made that they're spending Yom Tov together, um that they are, you said they're teenage young adults, they're there, they've chosen to be together. What else can you do at that point other than say, okay, this is what it is? And to recognize how much of an impact, when you can ground yourself into a state of menuchas nefesh, how much of an impact that has on everyone around you. So the choice was made, the decision was made. They're spending Yom Tov with you and together. And so when you can say, okay, this is what's going to be, there's this silent war going on here, and I'm choosing to ground myself and regulate myself as best as I can, and trust that by doing that, you're actually having an impact on everyone else around you. On a science level, a hashkafic level, when you are grounded, it automatically has an impact on those around you. So not that you can control how other people are going to react and respond, but it's the greatest thing that you can do for yourself and for those that are there. So that's what I'll say about that. Okay. Next question. I am making the first days of Yom Tov for my father-in-law and having the Siddharim in his house. My youngest child, a married son, Baruch Hashem, will be joining us with his wife and baby for one Seder and one Yom Tov meal. We are eating the Shabbos Gadol meals out. A local caterer is hosting Shabbos meals with them. They are our guests. My son asked me if Yom Tov will be in my house. As Shabbosim, we are mostly not home. And when I said that we're going to be by Zadie, he pulled an annoyed face. My take is that elderly, lonely, sickly parents need to be accommodated before the young, Baruch Hashem, strong young couples. Yet I feel bad that I am disappointing my son. So I'll start this one off. There's so much underlying here, right? You announced where the meals are going to take place, and your son responded with a face, and you took that to mean that he's disappointed in you. And it makes sense that you want there to be peace between you and your son, and you don't want your son to be disappointed in you. You want your son to think that you're the greatest mother that ever existed on the face of this earth. What mother wouldn't want to feel that way, right? We all want to feel like we're so beloved and that we make the decisions that all of our kids are happy with. And at the same time, we're going to disappoint people with our decision. It's gonna happen in life. And it's so uncomfortable, right? Because we're in this like push pull all the time in life where we want to keep the peace, right? As Chaya Hinda mentioned earlier, we're people of Shalom. We want to keep peace. And at the same time, we have our own unique needs that are showing up here. In this case, the fact that to you it's important to go to your father-in-law. And at the same time, your son has needs, and perhaps his needs are that he wants to be in his childhood home, right? And that he's the youngest, and us youngest like things to go our way very much and don't like having to give in to others. It's hard for us. You know, we're used to being spoiled. We're used to getting our way on some level, in some way. And it's hard. And so my suggestion here is validation of everybody's feelings here. Validation of your feelings first and foremost. That you are trying so hard to do the right thing as you understand it. And you're trying so hard to be in this sandwich generation where you're taking care of your father-in-law and you also have your married child coming over needing things from you. And to first validate this being pulled into different directions and how hard that is. Right? And once you're able to validate all the feelings that you have within yourself, then then there'll be space for you to understand maybe where your son's coming from and to be able to understand that, yeah, he's disappointed. And wouldn't it be so nice and amazing to never have to let him down, right? You want your son to be able to feel like he can have like you want him to have an amazing life. You don't want him to ever feel disappointed. Even though, of course, that's part of life, and we understand that being humans means that we're going to feel disappointed at times, but we don't ever want to feel like we're causing that to someone else. Right? And so to be able to then validate his feelings, his experience of what it must be like to be the youngest child who just wants to be in his parents' home and doesn't want to have to go to his grandfather's home. So making space for everybody's feelings here. Chaya, Hinda.
I have nothing to add other than I think you're doing a great job. You've got one Seder at home, one Seder by your father-in-law. You're taking care of everybody. You have this couple eating with you the whole thing. You're doing great. I think you're doing amazing. Yeah, just keep going. You're doing great. That's what I would say.
Okay. Next question. I'm married for less than a decade with 2 children and live far away from family. My husband has gone through a lot of childhood trauma and goes through phases of switch off as a spouse, meaning often emotionally distant, not around much, even during Bein Hazmanim, refuses to discuss anything that we may have a differing opinion, including the idea of going away for Pesach to avoid the stress. He wants to stay home, will not help out towards Yom Tov, saying it's all the woman's work. And if I only treat him with a lot of respect, which I try constantly to do, then maybe he'll help a bit, which rarely happens. He'll get angry at me when I get upset at him for not helping out, and it's really overwhelming. I feel like I'm making Pesach as a single mom without the status and support of a single mom. This is part of the bigger picture of life. It's generally like this all year round, just amplified in stressful times. And I'm going to read a second question, which is kind of similar. And then, Chaya, I would love for you to answer. My husband has a lot of stressful and drama-filled memories of Pesach as a child. He therefore dreads Erev Yom Tov and tries to avoid any triggers. I do most of the prep without his assistance or encouragement. And I find myself holding everything together so he won't be triggered. And if I do need support, he can't be there for me and will express that we overwork and it's unnecessary. I appreciate the Yom Tov and the prep is mostly pleasurable. This aspect, though, pulls me down. Any insights or thoughts? Thank you.
Okay, so these two ladies, first of all, we need a group hug for all of those who are in these kinds of situations. Okay, an unhelpful husband, for whatever reason, uh, a whole lot of work on your head, and feeling like you're basically single parenting, which you are. You are single parenting. And when you say the first question of without the status of being a single mom, there ain't much great status in being a single mom, I have to tell you, unless it's a widow, which you're not asking to be. But there ain't no great status as a divorcee, I'm telling you, as a single. But the support of a single mom, and this is what I'm saying to both of you, okay, and everybody else in this kind of situation, is whatever a single mom needs to do to get the support that she needs for herself, that's what you're going to need to do for yourself. And the first step is going to be what Rena and I have been saying, we're just going to repeat it again here, is you need to be attuned to yourself. You need to be your own best friend initially and look at yourself long and hard and say, what do you need? Because in a healthy give and take marriage, a husband is going to come and look at his wife and say, what do you need? How can I help you? And be there to do that. You don't have somebody in your life doing that. And probably your best friend doesn't know what you're going through. Or maybe you're lucky enough that you are able to talk to your best friend, but you need to do it for yourself right away and start to say to yourself frequently, what do you need? What's going on with you? How are you feeling? What do you need right now? And not only what does he need? What do they need? What does the world around me need? What do I need? Why is it so important? Because you're holding it all together, not only for yourself, but for your children. If you're only there to avoid the triggers for your husband, okay, you cease to exist. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you because, as the Arizal said, from the beginning of time till the end of time, nobody can fulfill what you came into the world to do. You didn't come into the world only for him. You came in to be here for you. You're a Kenegdai. You're also part of his life. But you're a person who HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants your avodas Hashem, and he wants you to be your own person. And he wants you to be the happiest, most well-groomed and well-taken care of person. Menuchas and nefesh is one of the 13 midos that Rav Yisrael Salant says we have to live with. Your own menuchas and nefesh, your own simchas achag, your own attachment to Kadosh Baruch Hu and your devekas to Kadosh Baruch Hu. These are important. These are dear and precious to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And I'm just going to describe an exercise that I do. I'm just going to actually draw it. I didn't do this in advance, but let me just draw it on a random envelope that I have here. Okay, I'm just going to, frequent listeners will know this little exercise of mine, but I'm just going to draw a little flower, okay, like this. Okay, it's a little bit rough, but you'll get the idea. Okay, drawing a flower. A little rough, but you'll get the idea. Okay, here's the flower. You see the flower? Okay, so what we're used to doing is we're used to putting husband in the middle of the flower and then kind of building the rest of our lives around husband. That's not accurate about what Hashem wants from us, okay? In the center is Hashem. I'm going to write a big H in the middle, okay? In the middle is Hashem. Your husband is one petal. One petal is husband. He's part of it, but he's not the whole flower. And if we think about in the natural way that the world goes, most wives in this world outlive their husbands, mostly. And so, as they say, do tshuva now, avoid the Yom Kippur rush, okay? So the point is, do the self-work now so that you don't have to do the rush work later. Create a life for yourself. Create a relationship with Hashem for yourself, especially in this kind of situation. You are a beloved daughter of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And your life and your heart and your soul and your emotions and what you're going through is important to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he wants you to be a person. You cannot be a person unless you're attuned to yourself, unless you know who you are and what you need and how to fulfill your needs. And when you know yourself, and when you know your needs, when you know your pace, when you spend time with people who support you, when you spend time with friends who understand you and give back to you, mutually appreciative time. I go on and on about this, about friendships, because I don't think that there's anything as important as friendships for women. In fact, more than diet and exercise, friends for women is the greatest predictor of health long term. The quality of your friendships. When women have friends that they can turn to with your feelings, and even a woman in a good marriage, okay, whose husband is showing up for her, but still men are still men. They're not going to be so attuned and sensitive to women's feelings. When you have female friends who can understand your feelings and give you that feedback and listen to you griping about whatever it was without rolling their eyes, a husband only, okay, like really, how long can you talk about this for? And a friend will say, yeah, right, and get it, and you talk about it again. As many times you need to talk about it, you can talk about it because you need to. And so when you have a friend who you don't have to pay her by the hour. I'm a coach. I love showing up for my clients. I want you to have friends that you can show up with and they'll show up for you, where you have a mutual appreciation, where you value your friend. Because no matter how good your coach is or your therapist or whoever it is that you're going to, okay, you don't know that they love you like a friend because you're paying them. You're in a deal with them. But when you have a friend and they could walk away, okay, they could, but they're with you because they like you and they're with you because they're your friend, and you show up for them and they show up for you, and you build a relationship that's mutual, even if you have a challenging marriage, and even if you have challenging parents, if you have challenging children or challenging a sibling, whatever else is going on in your life, but you have mutually supportive friendship, it can get you through everything, and it can help guide you to the journey of getting to know yourself, because your friend can say to you, you know, that thing, that piece of self-criticism that you keep saying, it's not accurate about you. It's not. And she can help you unpack a lot of the uh, inaccurate stuff that you may have taken on, the baggage that you may have be carrying from other relationships, and help you really create much more of an accurate self-perception. So how to manage yourself with all of this? Um, First of all, you can't really, we're not going to go into trying to change him. That's not what's happening over here, but helping you create the support that you need inside yourself with all of this is going on. It starts with attunement to yourself, what your needs are, um, deciding. You get to decide how much cleaning you do. And if anybody needs Rav Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg Zetzal's guide to Easy Pesach, you need it. Okay, ladies, you need it. Take advantage of it. There's the here in Eretz Israel, you know, we've spent more time than we would have liked to in shelters and you know, in safe rooms over the past couple of weeks. A friend of mine shares a shelter with one of the Hashivista Rebbitzins in Beitar, Rebbitzin Tupik, whose husband just retired as the chief rabbi of Beitar, the Sephardi chief rabbi from I don't know, basically 35 years. Um, she said that she was in the bomb shelter with her recently, and she was talking to the women there. She said, you know, the only thing you really need to do is sweep. So I'm passing this on because we're all going to laugh, but you know, this is what she's telling everybody. We just need to know that what we do, we really often don't need to do as much as we do. We would love a lot more support, but if we don't have it, just do the basics. Sell a lot of rooms, sell the chametz in your stuff and close up every cupboard. Just make one little space kosher the Pesach and make your Pesach there. Do it as easy as you can. But that's practically how to do it. The first step is be attuned to yourself. Spend time with friends. Make time for friends. I'm going to say it again. If you're not making time for friends, then you're not doing what you need to do for yourself. And I'm really angry at you. I really like take it personally. Make time for friends. Make time over Cholamoid to see friends. Make time before Yontif to see friends. Be with people who love you, especially when you have an antagonistic relationship like that at home. For whatever reason, whether it's his trauma, whatever it is, if it's ending up taking the toll on you, you need time with people with whom you can let down the guard, with whom you don't have to walk on eggshells, who love you as you are, who are not going to blame you for stuff or criticize what's going on, where you can get that. It's like a kind of a chiropractic readjustment, so that when you're with that person, you feel now, oh, now I'm aligned with who I am, rather than your spine is all out of place because all of the bones have been put out of place. Okay, you have to get that realignment, get readjusted back in. Okay, now your back is straight. You can go back in and be who you are, and hold on to the first beginning round, because you're going to see your friend again during Chol Hamoed. And if you don't know who is the friend you can talk to, go through your old phone book, see who you were in touch with when you were a child, when you were a kid, when you were in school, when you were in seminary. This is the process I go through with my clients, identifying who are the people that you can call, who are the people you can spend time with. Who are the people that you can trust, that you feel you really would like to have a phone conversation with, and just pick up the phone and say, hi, it's been a long time. I just thought maybe I'd like to get together for a cup of coffee. And women can do this. Doesn't matter how long you haven't been speaking. You can do this 30 years later, and you can go and meet an old friend and pick it up and bring them into your life. Bring your friends into your life. That's my message. Okay.
Thank you, Chaya. Hinda. Take a breath. Oh, it was so passionate. I love it. I feel like I want to take out that one piece and like that's what everyone needs to hear. I think it's what we all need to hear over and over again. So I'm not going to answer that question. And now I'm like, we have 5 minutes, and also some people have been writing things in the chat that
Okay.
um I want to write. So I'm just going to choose one more question for us to do. Sorry for the ones we didn't get to. Um, um, hmm. Okay, I'm going to do two more, but we're going to do them really fast. As a widow with no children, I find I will be alone for all of Pesach. My 5 closest friends and neighbors moved away in the past year and a half, and I'm totally on my own for the first time in my life. What do you suggest I don't fall into lowered feelings? Also, other circumstances, of course, including I just found out that my only not yet religious sibling with whom I was very close till I came to live here in Jerusalem got married for the first time, age 66, to a non-Jewish woman. Still reeling from that a bit. Thank you. Hey, this is so painful. It's so painful to be in a situation where you're all alone. All your friends moved away. Your one sibling married out, and to be all alone is so painful. And I don't want to jump to all the solutions that we gave because, again, I really feel like that first step is to really allow ourselves to be with the pain. And I want to share, I think, like there's a spas emes that really guides my life so much. A spas emes basically says that anytime a person has some sort of pain, it's like a pregnant woman. Wherever she goes, the fetus comes along with her. So too, pain that a person's holding on to. Right? We try to push it away, we try to get rid of it in all kinds of ways. But that pain is with us. And we can't just push it away. We can't just ignore it. We can't just pretend it's not there. It's there, it's with us. And he says, just like a pregnant woman gives birth, and right, the hope, the expectation is that there should be a live birth. There should be a child that comes from this pregnancy, that this child then brings, is the fruit of her labor, literally, right? It's what she gestated with it, what was gestating within her, and then a child comes out of it. So too, he says about pain that a person's holding on to. Pain has to have some sort of positive fruit that comes from it. Pain isn't just pain for its own sake. And so when we can sit with pain that we have, whether it's the little pains of life that, we all have day to day, or whether it's big pains like this, being a widow, all your friends moving away, no children, all these this fear of falling into your lower feelings. I would say go into those lower feelings, because within those lower feelings, that's where the beauty is. That's where it's like a seed that you plant in the ground. And this is also from the Sifsei Chaim. You take a seed, it looks so insignificant, it looks like so meaningless. You plant it in the ground, and it starts to decompose, and it gets so ugly and it gets so gross, and you're like, ugh, this is what I planted. But then we wait a little bit longer, and then all of a sudden, from this decomposed seed, something beautiful grows from it. And that's what has to come. He says that's what has to come from our pain. Any pain that we have, something beautiful is going to come from it. And so by being able to be with that pain, this is the situation that Hashem put you in, and it's a difficult situation. And I don't, you're experiencing this, and I don't wish it on anyone. Within that pain, though, there's something beautiful, and I don't know what it is, and that maybe that sounds insensitive to say, that within all that pain, there's something that can sprout. But it's by going into that, by going into the pain that you're experiencing and being with it, that you'll be able to find the joy again in life, and you'll be able to pick up that and start anew, and find those new friends, and find those ways to be able to make your life great again. Hi, Hinda, anything you want to add on that? We're at the top of the hour.
If you this question is came in as the last one, but the story that I told earlier about Rav Elia was, I really also intended to be as an answer to this, that what Rav Elia was saying there, we have this picture in our mind about what Pesach is supposed to be, of and all the pictures in the picture books have this regal head of the table in his Pesach whatever the clothing is going to be, with this kittel or whatever he's wearing, and the children sitting around, and this picture is a bit of an idealized picture, um, but everyone has their own ideal, and our own ideal is where Hashem is putting us today. And if Elia was put in that position where his wife didn't even have the capacity to have the table set, and he set it himself, and she pulled everything onto the floor, and there he is without children, without a wife with whom he could really raise a family anyway. And this was his life, and this was where he built. But he created such a connection to Hashem, and he had tremendous meaning in his life through his connection to Hashem, and how he gave. Again, not in any way trying to say that I want to say that I understand where you are, but what I will say is that pain, as Rena was saying, pain is the gate to something. Pain is an energy that takes us somewhere, and we get to decide where it takes us. That's so we can't go without feeling the lowered feelings. We can't ignore them. We mustn't ignore them, mustn't deny them. Only through feeling them can we then go towards feeling also the joy of the Chag. And so I would suggest feel the lowered feelings whenever they come, and then allow them to gently ebb away as they do, authentically and naturally, which they will do when we give them their time. We tend to be scared that they're going to last forever. I don't believe they will. I believe that the Simchas Chag will come up naturally after you've allowed yourself to sit with whatever feelings come. Yeah.
Hey, thank you. I know I said I was going to do one more question, but we're already past, so we're not going to do that. But I do want to read through the chat quickly because there were some things that people wrote that, yeah. Okay, so one person just gave a suggestion to ask for a hetzer to do the B'tikas Chametz during the day. Somebody said, I was in the same situation. I'm not sure what question this was referring to. I've enjoyed in the past by being told that I have the opportunity for yechidus with Hashem, be an opportunity for an intimate experience with Hashem. Beautiful. And here's a question which I'm not going to be able to answer. I'm so sorry. Somebody wrote about the women, the husbands who have trauma as it relates to Yantif. She said, my husband, Zal, of 45 years, had so much extreme trauma, especially at Yantif. I'd love to be supportive of this woman. I so get it. So I just want you to know that, right, somebody out there who understands what you are going through and appreciates it, and you're not alone. And I really, Chaya, Hinda, thank you so much for joining me in this panel discussion and answering these questions. And really, I think that was really my intention with all of this, was to give people a voice. Right? There's so many challenges that come up. People with complex backgrounds have all kinds of struggles that come up around Yantif, and we can't solve everyone's problems. We can, there's Hashem is the only one that can solve anything. But I hope that by being able to hear, first of all, that other people are grappling with similar things, and then also, I hope that we were able to give you a sense of compassion and understanding, that you can feel heard, you can feel validated, that you can really truly believe that your struggle is real for you, and that you're grappling with something, and it's hard, and to know that you're being seen. And I'll pause there. Chaya, anything you want to say to end it?
I want to thank you, Rena. Rena reached out to me to be part of this and do this together with her, and it's a tremendous chus to first of all hold this really, I believe, a holy space for women who are peace seekers and truth seekers and want to be able to do the right thing, and need support in doing that. To know that trauma is a very real thing. The background that sets us apart from all the world that is just busy, happy, and smiling is a real thing, and it takes not just thought, but it takes time, and that we need to put time into addressing it, the time that you put here to, to actually listen to the questions and present the questions. It takes time to be attuned to ourselves and our needs. And it takes time to do this centering that Rena is so expert at guiding people through, of really sitting with the feelings and working through them and being with them and validating them and knowing where we are and letting it being okay. All of this takes time. And especially at a time before Pesach where we're so jealous of every minute. We're very, we feel like we're in a rush. When we slow down, actually rushing is a big trauma response. And when we can slow ourselves down and just say, I'm just going to do what I can do today, and I'm going to cut down the to-do list to what I can do, rather than speeding myself up to the to-do list, rather than make it attuned to me. When we make that step and focus on ourselves and understand, and this space, creating the Rena, orchestrated to create that safe space, is so important and vital. So thank you, Rena, for organizing this. Thank you for everybody who came. I do want to offer everybody who is here today, and if you're watching the recording, if you want to book a free, no strings session just to talk about your goals for yourself with me, I'm offering this to everybody at this time. I'm putting it in the chat now. We'll wait another minute. If you want to copy that link and use it, and go ahead, you can book a meeting on my calendar. And of course, I will be offering the opportunity to work further, but there's no strings attached. This hour, or the session, is a free gift to you if you want to take me up on it. And I really do want everybody to know that it's not a mistake the way your life is, but this is crafted by Kadosh Baruch Hu for your optimum connection to Hashem. What a Jew produces in this world is Dveikus. And the way we produce Dveikus, you didn't see the link? This is a link. You see it? 1 second, I'll send it back to you again. The way that we produce Dveikus is through pain and challenge, and our own personal pains and challenges, and the situations that we've been in, the history that we have. That's where we connect to Hashem. That's where we continue growing. That's how we find meaning in whatever we've gone through, and it wasn't a mistake. Thank you, Rena.
Thank you. Thank you, Hinda. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Wishing everyone a Pesach Kasher V'Sameach, and to just be a time where we're really able to connect to Hashem, to ourselves, and then to those around us. Take care,
Amen.
everyone.
Amen.
Bye.